Life is very complicated, as you know. There's nobody in this world that has survived without lying. White lies are different stories. Somebody can give you a call and you can tell the person, hey man, I'm gonna go somewhere else. Just lying. This doesn't hurt anybody. Everybody has lied. Lying is the mode of life to ordinary human beings. Ladies and gentlemen, but what kind of lying are we talking about? What kind of lying? To me, in my 70 years of experience, all governments lie. I've heard them say different kind of things. All governments got to do something to modulate reality to a certain extent in terms of escaping from danger, or probably in a very dangerous situation where the public had to be deceived in order to protect the public from fear. You understand what I'm saying? A little bit distortion of reality. But what makes Abiy Ahmed so compulsive a liar? Is Abiy Ahmed habitual liar? Is he a political liar? Is he compulsive liar? Is he pathological liar? Where do you categorize this guy? So my argument today is I categorize Abiy Ahmed in both classifications, meaning compulsive and pathological liar. So let's go and see what exactly is lying. Here, there is some information that I want to share with you. Okay? Definition of lying. So here they say, ladies and gentlemen, in fact, you don't have to see it. You don't have to see it. But I can just read it myself. Lying ranges from white lies to malicious fabrications, categorized by technique, omission, commission, distortion, and intent, which means protective, selfish, or habitual. Major types include outright denial. Does Abiy Ahmed do that? I do believe he does. Exaggeration. He does that too. Minimizing facts, fabricating stories, and telling the truth misleadingly. So here are the classification of lies, ladies and gentlemen. White lies, small, often harmless lies, told to avoid hurting someone, feeling or social etiquettes. For example, I can lie a little bit. Okay, I can lie. Person can come. He asked me about how much money I have. I may have touched about $50 in the pocket, but I can say $30. I got $30. This is white lies. It doesn't hurt anybody. Common types of lies. Now, lies of omission, leaving out crucial information to mislead someone without technically stating a falsehood. On an average communication between people, this can be done too. You know, people can omit information, very important information, to not deliver the complete picture of the reality, to misguide some people to their interests. And this is okay. Another one is minimization, downplaying the severity of a fact, event, or action to reduce negative consequences. Abiy Ahmed definitely minimizes the kind of damage he's been doing to Ethiopia. This is a whole region. 1 million people died in Tigray. While he minimizes the kind of problems going on in Ethiopia right now, he doesn't talk about it. He doesn't even address when people are burning, when people have had their properties destroyed intentionally by the army or by some hooligans in Ethiopia. He doesn't say anything. He doesn't feel it. The guy doesn't have any compassion. So what I'm saying. He exaggerates his power. He exaggerates his ambitions. He talks about liberating the whole of Africans. Recently, he said he can protect the Red Sea from Somalia to all the way to Massawa and congratulated all of us. You know what I'm saying? He exaggerates because he is powerless to do that. Yet he exaggerates. Boldly bold-faced lies, telling the lies that is obviously everyone involved, often used to defy authority or challenge reality. Does he do that? Yes, definitely. Has he praised President Isaias in public several times? His generals included? Yes, but he turns around, flips the whole story and ridicules him at the same time. That's what I'm saying. Flip-flop. Yeah, lies has been recorded by different media, ladies and gentlemen. He doesn't even remember. So, is this thing really some kind of sanity? Can a sane person compromise reality? Is this kind of ridiculous manner. You understand what I'm saying? You're talking about something, you flip it the next day. You can talk about this in the parliament, and the new general talks about something else, about the same story, flip-flop. So the person cannot be trusted anymore. Like Emmanuel can't say it. You understand? By a lie, a man compromises his dignity. This man has compromised his dignity several times. But the question is he sick or not? Definitely, there is a psychological problem right here we will discuss. I do believe Abiy Ahmed cannot control his deceptive lies because he doesn't even know he's lying. It has to be a mental situation for a person of his status on government level to lie. The amount of lie, the qualities of lie, the kind of lying even ordinary people do not do in average human being experience interactions. Something is wrong. Promising there will be gas in Ethiopia, promising Ethiopia will just go advance and so Ethiopia will export, Ethiopia will be the first in this and that, in production, in agriculture, in economy. It will be world power in about 20 years, all this kind of lies. But he cannot show even something in the ground, they say. Broken promises. Ethiopians have been promised so many things. He could not accomplish even it. In view of education, in view of agriculture, in view of production, in view of trade, export, import, all he does is just collecting arms to fight, to suppress. The man believes in the power of the fist instead of in the power of talking to each other and stuff like that. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the next thing is how many types of liars in the context of psychology. Well, one is compulsive, pathological liars. Individuals who lie habitually, often without a clear, immediate motive, sometimes due to low esteem or personality disorder. You see, they just lie. They got to lie. Compulsive liars have no purpose on their life. They cannot tell the truth. They have so much inferiority complex to cover. They think people will not accept them equally, so they have to accomplish the equality by lying, by covering up. So they get into very minute things, very detectable lies. They just cannot control it. Abiy Ahmed is like that, messenger. He cannot finish a session without lying several times. Liar, definitely. But to be a pathological liar, you have to have an aim. You got to have aim, you know. For example, is he lying in Ethiopia for political purposes? Is he lying to deceive the Ethiopians? Is he just talking a lot of things, going to the Oromo region, telling them something, coming to Addis, talking about being Ethiopian, going to Desse, wherever it is. He moves around, talking different kind of stories, sometimes in Tigrinya, sometimes in Oromia, in Oromic, Oromia, different language I'm talking about, Tigrinya, yes, and Amharic. Different kind of messages, Ethiopians, and different kind of messages. Is this guy really seriously sane or insane? Can a person of his status do this kind of things? You understand? Therefore, pathological liars actually have aim. Of course, he thinks he's deceiving the Ethiopians. He doesn't know the basic common sense cannot buy the BS that he talks about, because basic common sense is what we all have. Education can enhance common sense. Education cannot make you intelligent. You understand? Intelligence is a different story. Education can enhance intelligence, but it cannot make you intelligent. But he doesn't have basic education. I would say he has basic education, but he is not a doctor. He doesn't reflect an educated mind's substance. You understand what I'm saying? Because he doesn't even understand how ridiculously he lies. Very basic lies, white lies in front of a public. Do you understand? He doesn't understand how much damage he does. He's got to lie. Fabrication. Of course, a lie to be sustained, it has to be layered by another lie. Lies by lies by lies by lies, they finally crumble down. So he's in that situation. For that reason, he is also a pathological liar. The other one, other classification is delusional, self-deception, lying to oneself to avoid uncomfortable truths. I'm definitely sure, from psychological, definitely sure, to my own understanding, maybe not true in this sense. I'm not talking about objective reality, ladies and gentlemen. I'm talking about my subjective reality on these circumstances. He cannot sleep at night, man. He has to fabricate. He cannot face the truth. He's got to distort it. So he is in a very serious psychological, you understand, condition. The man cannot sleep. He hates himself. He hates himself. He's a narcissist. He has to protect his narcissism through layers of deceptions, series of deceptions. He's not in a situation where he can control his behavior. It is out of control, to my understanding. For strategic reasons. He talks about a lot of misinformation, beneficial strategic lies used to gain social or professional advantage, of course. And then misinformation, fake news, deliberate, widespread dissemination of false information. Can you imagine how many times that guy lied for him? Siyum Toshoma? Can you imagine how much can a person lie? Constantly. How much of promises can somebody deliver? Of course, that is his mouthpiece. That's his media, ladies and gentlemen. So, his deception, self-deception, the fact that he believes he's deceiving other people, whereas unaware that he is disclosing himself more and more, how much of liar he is. Nobody can trust him any longer. Ladies and gentlemen, they have finished lying everything, but they're still lying. So it's definitely a disease. It's a disease. See, the guy has become so predictable about his lies, nobody can trust him any longer. Let's see what the doctor says about pathological lying. I think you will find this one a little bit interesting. Let's see what the doctors say about it.
This is Dr. Grande. Today's question is, what is pathological lying? If you find this video to be interesting or helpful, please like it and subscribe to my channel. That way you won't miss anything new. Now, when we talk about the term pathological lying, we're talking about a set of symptoms that appears to be distinct, although there's controversy about that, and right now is not a mental disorder. So pathological lying is not a mental disorder in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, but the construct has been studied for a number of years and has a few different names, including compulsive lying, mythomania, morbid lying, and pseudologia fantastica. Here I'm just going to refer to it as pathological lying. So there are three main schools of thought in terms of where pathological lying fits in with mental health. First is that it's a distinct mental disorder.
Well, here, Dr. said there is a direct connection with the mental health aspect of life. This is interesting, very interesting. We're talking about in reference to Abiy Ahmed,
and it should be classified as such. So with this school of thought, pathological lying is just overlooked. It should be a disorder. It's not a disorder. The second school of thought is that it is distinct and it could qualify to be a mental disorder, but it does not impair functioning or it's not treatable. So that theory has a few different subtypes.
Well, I'm very sorry about this. Very interesting, though. They are functional, you see. They are functional. They can function. Abiy Ahmed functions. So because of that, he may not be classified as a health condition. I'm not good at this psychology, but let's just follow what he's saying. That okay?
The last theory is,
but it's not treatable. The doctor says, okay, told is that it is distinct and it could qualify to be a mental disorder. Okay.
but it does not impair functioning or it's not treatable.
So what I'm saying here is, doctor is telling us it's of course a mental condition, but it doesn't impair functioning. But you can become dysfunctional and then functional at the same time.
That theory has a few different subtypes. The last theory is that the symptoms may or may not be distinct, but they're really just behaviors that are part of other disorders, specifically cluster B personality disorders, so antisocial, narcissistic, borderline, and histrionic. Sometimes we
Well, histrionic, narcissistic, of course he's narcissist, histrionic. I wonder what it means. Histrionic. Very interesting terminology that we'd like to learn, all of us, right here. I'm learning with you histrionic personality disorder. HPD is a cluster B condition marked by constant, intense need for attention, shallow but rapidly shifting emotions, and dramatic, seductive, or provocative behavior. Well, right here, I detected, of course, constant, intense need for attention. Abiy Ahmed has intense need for attention. He likes everybody to know about it. He wants to be the hero of the Adwa battle, ladies and gentlemen. He's got his pictures everywhere. He shows his pictures everywhere by artificial intelligence. He posts his pictures and he actually disqualifies other leaders who participated in the productivity of the Ethiopian society in terms of economy. Like he disqualifies the Wayanis at all in the situation. He disqualifies them from the Renaissance down, as if he accomplished it alone. You understand? So, wow, he has that kind of disorder as well.
see with this theory that the symptoms, the behaviors seen with pathological lying are also included as part of factitious disorder or malingering. So when we talk about pathological lying, we're talking about a construct for which there is no agreed upon definition.
Well, okay, I think science cannot define this kind of people as such because they're composed of different expressions, different terminologies.
So what are some of the characteristics of pathological lying? Well, we see repeated lying that takes place over the course of years, becomes a regular habit, and the primary motivation does not appear to be related to social status, material gain, or really be otherwise obvious.
Well, this is very important. Mr. German, Abiy Ahmed repeatedly lies as if there is no tomorrow for Mr. German. He repeatedly lies, not necessarily for his status because he's already the president, not because of money, because he's already rich, taking a lot of money. You understand? The economic situation in Ethiopia is under his control. Money is not a problem. Fame is not a problem. But a lot of insecurity definitely habitually lies.
So the reason for the lying seems to be without purpose.
You see, it's purposeless life. Very interesting.
So this set of symptoms appears to be chronic. It's seemingly impulsive. A lot of the lies seen with pathological lying are fantastical, but not beyond the realm of what's possible. So usually they're right at the edge of fantasy before it would become just unbelievable.
Well, I think it has become, at this stage, Abiy's deception. Abiy's lies has surpassed his fantasy of becoming the biggest man in East Africa. That is his fantasy. To overpass, to be more famous than the emperor himself, and the big leaders in Africa in the past, Tedros or whoever, Menelik or Johannes, or even Mendes Haile Mariam, or the TPLF's leader, Meles Zenawi. You understand? That fantasy, that to be big, to have the Aksumite kingdom era back under his administration, composed of the Eritrean society, the Somalians, Sudanese, South Sudanese, and all of us, the Djiboutians, under his control, and that is the biggest ambition he had. That was the fantasy he articulated in his elusive mind. Now, unbelievable. At that time, people could have believed that the fantasies were working. At that time, people could have thought that he could grab Assad and bring it back to Ethiopia or something. Understand? But the exaggerations went on to the point where nobody can believe it. Trust was broken. So it has become unbelievable. Whatever he says has become believable according to that.
Pathological lying behaviors can also co-occur with normal lying, lying that's there to avoid consequences or to be altruistic. We also see that the lying in pathological lying may be a reward in itself. So there may
Well, actually, he doesn't care about the consequences. Abiy Ahmed doesn't care about the consequences. I don't even know he's aware of it. That's why I think it's a mental situation, mental condition. Lying and pathological lying may be a reward in itself. For what, doctor?
be an internal motive for telling the lies. Also, people affected by pathological lying don't always recognize their own behavior.
Thank you. He doesn't remember, he doesn't recognize his own behavior, but he has internal motive. Whatever it is, the internal motive, one of them has to be low self-esteem, let's say, psychologically speaking. He doesn't know equal to others. He knows he doesn't know so much. So he appears to be knowing the knower. That's the problem.
So in a sense, it can be self-deception as well as an attempt to deceive others.
Absolutely. It has definitely to be self-deception. He's deceiving himself. He's pretending to be another person that he is not. In the meantime, he's deceiving others too. I don't think deceiving others can be accomplished without self-deception, doctor. So he's doing both of them.
Sometimes it's described in the literature as a daydream or a fantasy that's communicated as true. So instead of an internal daydream or fantasy, individuals who demonstrate pathological lying behaviors communicate these daydreams and fantasies to other people.
They just think that they think their fantasies are true stories. They have no capacity to realize that their fantasies were fantasies.
Eventually, they could come to believe in the lies, at least in a sense, or they could forget what the truth really is. So
wow, they either believe in their lies or they forget totally that they were lying. Very interesting. But in this situation, if I don't forget, at the end of the day, I want to discuss the mental effect of this kind of lie, and also, I mean, from mind and also from the brain aspect of human physiology and psychology.
There's a part of pathological lying that in some instances appears to border on delusional. Other possible motives for pathological lying behavior include to repair an unimpressive narrative. That really seems more like narcissistic personality disorder. To be consistent with success, which also seems like NPD. To be interesting, or just to be stimulating in conversation.
Definitely, he's just obsessed with success. He's telling about how successful he is. He's showing everybody about the street lamps or whatever. Like in Addis Ababa, which is a good accomplishment in a way, had it been in tandem with productivity inside the country. But a lot of people are suffering with all the problems. He's just showing off. he's shown off that he's doing a lot of things to the country. You understand? Obsession with himself. This is not loving the self, man. This is self-love, which means concentrated on loving the ego. He's exciting his ego instead of his life. That's what I'm talking about. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, he just fantasizes things and he simulates himself as being the best person in terms of pride. And then comes self-aggrandizement. You understand, where you keep talking about the PS. Your ego is telling you that you are the greatest. You're the mightiest.
Now, if pathological lying is a distinct mental disorder that's simply been overlooked, there are a number of theories about how these behaviors are different as they manifest in cluster B personality disorders. For example, if we compare pathological lying to antisocial personality disorder, with antisocial personality disorder, oftentimes the motive would be for some sort of profit. And with antisocial personality disorder, there would be no guilt associated with the lies. With pathological lying, there usually is guilt associated with the lies. So in essence, one of the reasons that someone could start to believe the lies would be to reduce feelings of guilt.
Wow, interesting. See, doctor is saying the pathological liar knows his damage in anything that he does, and then guilt is associated with regret. So the guilt, it's similar. You understand? So the more they lie pathologically, and then understanding that they do the things themselves, the more they suffer from guilt. You understand? And guilt is a very powerful emotional energy that can burn you alive, ladies and gentlemen, but they cannot stop it because it's hard. Very interesting.
Now, when we compare pathological lying to narcissistic personality disorder, we see that with NPD, there would be a purpose of being grandiose, to establish that someone is better than someone else, that they're superior. Also, a number of individuals with NPD believe they are already perfect, and that's not really a behavior we see with pathological lying. Comparing pathological lying to borderline personality disorder, a lot of times with borderline personality disorder, the lies have a purpose of avoiding abandonment, and sometimes individuals with this disorder falsely accuse other people.
Definitely, ladies and gentlemen, this is enough. You can go and watch the rest of it. They accuse others. Of course, it's just a crisis that starts during childhood too. You don't have love from your family. Somebody could probably have abused him when he was young. Of course, the economic situation back home. Did you have good food? Did you have good education and good care from the community itself and from the childhood friendship? All that comes and associates, develops that inferiority complex, finally develops, and it wants to be the best in everything. By any means of deception in life, you come to power, forget it. You're talking about people like Hitler, Mussolini, people who suffered from inferiority complex, but exploded in the society. Their internal inferno exploded into the society. Therefore, they are implosive sufferers and explosive sufferers at the same time. In this situation, Abiy deceives himself for nothing. He lies for no reason. He lies for no whatever objective. And that makes him a compulsive liar, addicted liar. Whereas he does it at the same time to deceive people. Of course, everything originates from self-deception. You gotta deceive yourself before you deceive others. And he wants to use his deceptive personality to attract attention, to be recognized, to lead, to put his dreams, his ambitious insanity on the ground. And that makes him the other type of deceptor, which means he is a compulsive liar at the same time. No, I'm a compulsive liar, of course, but pathological liar at the same time. Ladies and gentlemen, I live it right here and share this experience to everybody. Abiy has to go, definitely, because he's extremely dangerous, cruel at the same time. He's not only a liar, but cruel, merciless. He wants to revenge on humanity in general for whatever psychological and physical damage he had in his childhood. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a complicated psychological mind that he's carrying. By the way, in this situation, the mind is messed up already because it's reflecting what the ego desires. You see, a narcissist has to have supply, by which the narcissism exasperates its insanity, self-aggrandizes to the maximum, you understand? But at the same time, they hate themselves. So they have to do the other side to balance the situation as such. But at the mind level, this goes on. But at the same time, the brain level, ladies and gentlemen, deception can be so addictive. Okay? It can restructure the neurological, material aspect of the mind and of the brain. Therefore, once so much addiction is fed to the mind, and then it transmits to the brain, of course, and the brain constantly gets messed up. It changes its position, its neural wiring to adjust into the constant deception coming from the mind. The mind brings the deception, and the brain crystallizes constantly and permanently. Ladies and gentlemen, I love you. I'm going to share this in my new channel. Please go there and support it. It will help us. I want to bring this kind of subject matters that can help everybody. And my new channel is this. No, but it doesn't necessarily mean Eritrea. It means the whole planet Earth. Eventually, I will change the name of this so I can transmit my spiritual mission to everybody. Everybody that business on Earth. It doesn't matter who you are, ladies and gentlemen. But right now, it's called Eritrea Here and Now. I will post this one in there too. But until you get used to this channel, I will have to keep on doing it in my Tigrinya and Amharic channel. Makalawit, which means centralism, being in the middle. Love you, and I'll let you go this time.
Oh